compliments of the season. Now, though tribes and tongues may differ, in brotherhood we stand. These timeless words from our national anthem echo the beauty of our unity in diversity.
Spot on, Victor. You know, with over 200 million people, more than 250 ethnic groups and over 500 languages, we're like a vibrant mosaic. But do you think that should be our strength sometimes, as it sometimes feels like a weakness, Victor?
Well, you're not wrong, Jumai. In recent years, distrust, antagonism, and division have slowly eroded that unity, and the ripple effect has been slowed growth and stagnation.
Indeed, and you know, that's very true, Victor. Successive governments have rolled out plans and policies to foster unity. Yes, ethnic strife, insecurity, and political tensions still loom large over us, testing the very fabric of our nation's resilience.
Remember the 1970s with the iconic slogan, "United we stand, divided we fall"? Then we had "One Nation, One Destiny," and more recently, "Good People, Great Nation." All beautiful phrases, but have they gone beyond the rhetoric?
Indeed, and we have the one that we stand gidiba, you know, when we're a nation, and that's why social commentators and civil advocates say national integration is non-negotiable. They believe it is the magic thread that can weave us into a truly cohesive society.
You may be right again, Jumai, but the road to true national integration comes with hard questions. What are the real challenges in a country as diverse as ours? And how do we begin to build bridges where divides exist?
That is exactly what we'll be delving into this morning on Good Morning Nigeria. I am Jumai Yusuf, wishing you the best of the season. Compliments.
And I am Victor, as it's a Boxing Day promise of insightful discussions, our signature newspaper review, and more.
You're watching Good Morning Nigeria on this beautiful Boxing Day, and on Good Morning Nigeria today, newspaper review is next.
Right, and we have already seated and flipping through the papers.
I'm still preparing. I'm not flipping through anything. I got it all in my head already.
Okay, you are flipping through the notes.
Flipping, you know, they say today is Boxing Day. Most people think when we're children, we're growing up.
No, he wants to cause a fight so that I box him.
You know, when we're growing up, we thought it was the actual boxing itself that, you know.
That's what he's trying to do, to cause squabble.
Oh, I'm a Christmas colors today.
You know, like you're a universal woman.
Yes.
You cross boundaries, religion, everything.
Of course. So I'm in my Christmas colors today. So let's quickly go to the papers, Mr. Chukudi. And today we begin with the Daily Trust paper. And just below the masthead, we have 22 injured as vehicle hits Christmas procession in Gombe. In Daily Trust newspaper, you find the details on page 3. 2025 FG budgets 100 billion for school feeding. You find the details on page 23. Christmas can urges Tinubu to reduce food prices. You find the details on page 37. And at the bottom plate of the Daily Trust newspaper, telcos may hike call data tariffs early next year. Find details on page 25. Nasarawa pupils learn on bare floor. Details on page 26. Be patient with Tinubu. 2025 presents better deal. That's coming from the APC chairman, Ganduje. And police arrest bishops orders over Abuja church stampede. Details on page 20. And the picture story you see in the daily newspaper, airstrike kills 10 Sokoto villagers. With riders, they have links with Lakurawa terrorists. That's coming from the military. Suicide bomber kills 2 in Borno. 6 soldiers injured. Detail, and then 450 people have so far been killed in accidental bombings in 10 years. You find the details all on page 5. You can see the pictures. There are funeral prayers for the victims of the airstrike in Salami local government area of Sokoto State. Victor.
All right, thank you, Jumai. And I have the leadership paper here, and it leads with this story. At Christmas, can clerics seek end to hardship, hunger? That story is on page 4, and it has 3 riders. Government must take decisive steps, say Kuka, Ndagoso, Yahaya. Governors preach unity, tolerance, and economy will be better next Christmas. That's according to Ganduje. And just above that story, in a tiny strip, you have friendly fire. Fighter jet mistakenly bombs Sokoto communities. Page 7. CBN restoring economic confidence through monetary policies. You find details of that on page 7. And on the right-hand strip, you have police arrest priest, others over Abuja stampede. Page 4. Uni Abuja reiterates transparency in VC appointment. Page 19. Jigawa governor loses mother. Page 6. And insurance firms begin fresh recapitalization. That is on page 24. And that takes us to the Punch, not boxing. And this leads with Sokoto villagers accidentally killed as NAF bombs Lakurawa terrorists. LG chair confirms incident. NAF probes bombing. Boko Haram injure 5 soldiers in Borno ambush. That story is on page 2. I'm just accommodated beside the nameplate. Address unemployment, extremism to end insecurity. That's according to Father Matthew Kuka, page 14. And above the masthead, Lagos, Abuja, Rivers, phone seekers throng parks amidst stampede fears, page 2. And opposition laments hardship, APC promises economy, page 7. Then the picture story reads 38 dead in Azerbaijan Airlines plane crash on Christmas Day. And that story is on page 6. And at the bottom of the front page of the Punch, 3 Nigerians placed on FBI most wanted list for $6 million fraud, pages 4 and 5. Suspected killer of Niger ex-permanent secretary died in hospital. That's according to the police, and it's on page 4. And finally, 22 injured as vehicle hits Gombe. Christmas procession. That one is on page 5. Chukwudi.
Victor, Ozomena is an Igbo name. It is called, it means may it not happen again.
Right?
But then another airstrike has happened. And
Again.
then 10 Silami villagers are dead. In Sokoto State are dead. It's not right again. We have to quickly say that it shouldn't have happened. What could have happened? Was it that the coordinates were not well taken? These bombings are usually supposed to be preceded by good intel, where boots on the ground will tell you where to home in and all that. I'm not in the precision bombing and all that. And we are upping the game in terms of joining countries that believe in state-of-the-art technology in everything. So that should also affect the kind of precision we want to achieve in terms of dealing with these insurgents or bandits, whatever you call them, you know. But look at 10 of our people are dead again. And the military have links with Lakurawa. That is the problem. Now, the 2 papers, the Punch says Sokoto villagers accidentally killed as Nigerian Air Force bombs Lakurawa terrorists. NAF probes bombing. But Daily Trust goes on to say, airstrike kills 10 Sokoto villagers. Then they have links with Lakurawa terrorists. That is what we don't want to engage in this kind of discussion.
Yes.
Because it aggravates the pain. What really happened? When headlines are conflicting like this, it doesn't help those who are mourning.
No, it doesn't.
It is very important that we hammer this home. I mean, we push this home. Because those are not goats, hens, or fowls that died.
They're human beings.
They're human beings. And because they are villagers, you're going to see that the kind of outcry is met with the sort of, reprimand or whatever that is supposed to, we say when beggars die, no comments are said. No comments. About the death of Princess, It's unfortunate.
But why do we have conflicting? Why do we have conflicting headlines? Because it would have been one statement. It would have been one statement. So why are we reading it differently? It's supposed to be one statement.
Yes, from the minute.
There are
that is the point,
statements.
Victor. And this is where I ask the press to also exercise some restraint. It is not everything you hear that you publish. Sometimes you self-censor because of the health, the health of the people. It is very important.
You want to stabilize the polity because
classified things, for instance, are not blazed forth by UK or US journalists. Country comes first. But in this case now, we're talking about empathy. People have died when they should not die. So even when the Lakurawa link was mentioned by one of the papers, if I were the editor, I would play that down first and make it maybe a discussion for another day. You understand?
After thorough investigation.
It's called information management.
Yes.
It's even in journalism because this is our own country. Even if it's another person's country, humanity, beckons to you to be a bit circumspect about certain things. It's unfortunate.
It is.
I hope that the NFA will go ahead and carry out its probe as promised because this should be addressed squarely. And the paper says, that's the Daily Trust now, 450 people killed in accidental bombings in 10 years. No. That's one bombing too many.
Too many.
That's the point of it. It's not right.
Yes. Let's move on.
Let's say priests are arrested over the stampede, over food and all that.
Over Abuja church stampede.
Again, it should be that way. That you're engaging some level of philanthropy does not mean that certain things that happen within...
Shouldn't be a free for all.
Exactly. Let us not say people were careless. We have not investigated. But the police ought to, and are really now trying to ask a few questions. Nigerians should not become cannon fodder because hunger stares them in the face. It's quite a pathetic scenario.
It is.
I pray that 2025, as is being touted,
by presents better deal.
Yeah.
And we await that deal.
Actually, I am one of those who say that 2025 is likely to be better. But then what are the things you're going to inject into 2025 to make it better?
Yeah, exactly.
Food supply is very important after security. What are you going to do to make agriculture climb one notch higher in terms of meeting the people's expectations? Access to credit. How is it for us? How many farmers can really get loans from banks? It is the online money companies now that people wanted to get. Conventional banks will still give you the traditional attitude.
Yeah. And one thing that beats me is this unconventional loan, something that you just find them sending you WhatsApp message. I wonder where they get our numbers from.
They harvest it. They harvest it from many places.
Yes. Their numbers have never been a secret.
Yeah.
Because in those...
They just harvest.
Formerly, there was this big book, Yellow Pages,
Yellow Pages,
where everyone's telephone number was written down. When I was a young cousin, I remember I went to a man on Ihama, Benin City, and he gave me that book, and we're, going through to seek out. What I'm saying in essence is that your telephone number is not really supposed to be a big secret. It's not supposed to, except if you maybe make efforts to make it that kind of secret. But then these days, when you agree to so many things, cookies are all over your whatever.
I don't accept cookies at all.
Oh, you don't accept cookies?
I don't accept cookies.
Really?
I don't.
Okay.
Yes,
it actually limits your ability to explore sometimes and to get
talking about calls. Telcos may hike call data tariffs early next year.
They never hike them already.
I don't fear already.
So already I feel that what I'm paying is hiked.
Is that already?
So if they are going to tighten the noose further, it's unfortunate.
Then we go back to the traditional letter writing.
Because I'm not going to die easy. So let them keep tightening whatever noose they want to tighten.
You live to be 100 plus.
Well,
Victor?
Yes.
I'm not sure. Is there more to talk about at Christmas? Well, can clerics seek end to hardship and hunger?
Exactly, we're talking about that. We mentioned that agriculture is one of the ways you have to, one of the things you need to work on to make people have more access to food. And I'm not accusing
and Father Kuka talks about tackling unemployment and extremism to take care of insecurity.
Exactly.
While the FG budget's 100 billion for school feeding in 2025.
That's a good one. Some children actually they actually carry belly, they go school. You know, they carry mouth, they go school. That's how we say it in Pidgin. That means they go to school hungry. But as I was saying earlier, one of the things you need to do is to work on agriculture, not just to provide food, but also to provide employment. Agriculture will provide more employment, employment more rapidly than any other sector. Alas, we don't seem to give it the kind of attention.
The livestock
I think ahead of that, I'll come for apprenticeship in your farm. So just go prepare while I also prepare to join you.
You know, I don't have too many secrets, except if it concerns me and another person.
And most of our
you better find a better mentor, because all my beans perished. I was there strong.
There's a lesson to learn from that.
You know, the man said, start planting second week of August. I said, no, second week of September.
We will see you tomorrow.
It killed off everything.
Yes.
Chukwudi, I will learn a lesson from that. We'll see you tomorrow, and then we'll solidify the plans. Good Morning Nigeria continues after this break. Please stay with us.
You're watching Good Morning Nigeria live on the network service of NTA. Before we commence the discussion, let's take this background report by Ibrahim Hamidu.
Nigeria, with its rich diversity of over 300 ethnic groups and numerous languages, faces the dual-edged sword of diversity being both a strength and a challenge. As the country navigates its complex socio-political landscape, the importance of national unity cannot be overstated. So, what does it mean to strengthen national unity, and how can Nigerians work together towards this goal? Patriots advocate recognizing differences and charting new trends in cohesion, working towards a common purpose. Despite its importance, national unity faces several challenges in Nigeria, including ethnic and religious tensions, corruption, inequality, and a lack of justice and equity. These obstacles can divide Nigerians and undermine national unity. To address these challenges, statesmen and nation builders across the country urge that disparities generating friction in Nigeria must be addressed and logically settled. Experts in the rule of law advocate that justice and accountability must be addressed to create a more just and equitable society. Some Nigerians are of the opinion on key strategies for strengthening national unity, which are fostering a sense of national pride and identity, strengthening national institutions such as the National Youth Service Corps (NYSC), which must be maintained and advanced to a broader level, promoting justice and accountability to create a more just and equitable society. Forward thinkers in Nigeria agree that by working together towards a common purpose, Nigerians can build a more united and prosperous nation. Stay tuned as key stakeholders on the program will discuss strengthening national unity.
All right, thank you very much, Ibrahim Hamidu, for that background report. And to get into our conversation, let's introduce here in the studio Dr. Joseph Ochogu, Director General, Institute of Peace and Conflict Resolution. Welcome to Good Morning Nigeria.
Yeah, good morning Nigerian. I'm glad to be in the studio on a Boxing Day.
All right. And also joining us here in the studio is Musa Odudu Abdurrahman, founder and president, Initiative for Discovery of Nigeria Heritage and Endowment. He is also project coordinator, National Policy Dialogue. It's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you. I'm blissful to be here. Thank you. Immense thanks for having me.
Welcome. And we also have Reverend John Joseph Hayap, Country Director, Global Peace Foundation, Nigeria. He joins us from our Kaduna Network Center. Good morning. Compliments of the season.
And happy Boxing Day, if there's anything like that.
Indeed. And finally, from Osun State, we have Imam Fuad Adeyemi, National Chief Imam Al-Habibiyya Society of Nigeria. He joins us live on Zoom from Ode Umu, Osun State. It's a pleasure to have you join us, sir.
Yeah, good morning, everybody, and good morning, my Oga from Kaduna. My Christmas thing, I will know I will have it when I come from Ode Umu.
So expecting our own here in the studio.
All right. Let's kick off this conversation. Let me begin from here in the studio with Dr. Joseph Ochogu. How expedient, how germane is, what we now call national unity, that issue of national unity in Nigeria?
Yeah, I think that I want to say on the premise that every nation state, faces the challenge of how they manage issues around unity and national cohesion. And that is because the human society is diverse in different forms. So you put up a framework, to ensure that these diversities are well managed and people live in peace and in harmony. And that is why all the structures, all the institutions, all the laws and everything, are put in place to ensure that the unity of the country is in place. First and foremost, we have a constitution, that provides the fundamental guiding principles to ensure that everybody lives peacefully and harmoniously. A sense of inclusion, for everybody, and all that. But that be as it is, knowing the nature of human nature, the natural nature of human being is a bit competitive. I want to take it all, and all that. So those kind of things sets for acrimony. But like I said, there are frameworks that provide guidance, constitutional provisions that provide guidance for how human beings regulate their conduct. There are also spiritual frameworks, in terms of the Holy Bible, the Holy Quran, and some other fundamental human principles that ensure that human beings are human beings and they live, harmoniously and peacefully, irrespective of tribe, religion, race, or geographical locations where you find yourself. So it is in the human nature, to live peacefully. It is also in human nature also to be aggressive and to fight to want to take all and all that. But like I said, there is always a conduct, the fundamental principles that human beings must have. Once you fall short of those fundamental principles, then there is a sanctioning mechanism. Even both the constitutional framework and even the spiritual framework and other moral principles, that guide human conducts across the world. So, like I said, the struggle for unity, if you look at it carefully, is on the side. But human beings by nature will live peacefully. And human beings also by nature will struggle to want to dominate or overpower another person, leading to crisis, disunity, like we will say. But like I said, human beings by nature are more disposed, towards living peacefully and all that. And that is why if you find somebody stranded anywhere, if you find yourself in a strictly white-dominated environment and you are stranded, you will get help. So also if you go to beg or somewhere here and you just find yourself in Abuja and you are stranded, you're going to find somebody helping you. And that is the truth. So by nature, human beings are like that. By competition, it becomes a bit, they begin to shift from that tendency for unity, that tendency for understanding and tolerance, into more of competition and aggression, and all that. I will find all this in different spaces, either in the home front, in the workplaces, in places of worship and all that, where human diversity at times want to begin to bring about disunity because of one, competition over resources, competition over attention, competition, different kind of human things, but like I said, there is always a regulation, and then the ability of any nation state to provide a sanctioning mechanism and to ensure that human beings are sanctioned for misconduct against the conduct and ethics of human existence, then you'll find a reduction in that. But where the sanctioning mechanisms are not well meted, then you begin to find that problem going forward, and all that. If you listen carefully to the presidential media chat, now talking on the broader national framework, if you listen to the presidential media chat, if you listen to the president's goodwill message, you will see he talked about, I think that for me, that New Year message is one of the most, it's like a homily, that talks about unity, that talks about empathy and compassion and a sense of neighborliness. So if we begin to pick from that particular Christmas Day speech, for example, I will begin to unpack each of those things, I think that we should be better off. And then we'll leave it, not only just to say it, but to ensure that our citizens imbibe this sense of empathy. Because whether we like it or not, we are going through times, that will stretch human ability to want to compete. I want to create some bit of disunity and all that. But if you take empathy, for example, I'm a human being like you. Okay, perhaps you are more privileged than myself. Then there is an understanding that you must relate with me, on that level. And then a sense of compassion. Then you begin to build a society that is cohesive. And then no matter what society goes through, once you have empathy, you have compassion, and you are united, it doesn't matter whether a society is fighting war, that society overcomes it. And I think that is what we need to begin to learn. And you find places whereby people are in distress condition, in war situation, they still maintain some bit of sanity and orderliness. So I think that is the discipline that we need to begin to get our society to become more conscious of, more aware of, and then to begin to engage, and then we'll have a much more better society. And I think before I stop at this particular time, I want to say that all of us Nigerians, whether we like it or not, we've been paying sacrifices. Both the rich, the poor, the middle class, everybody is paying severe sacrifices as a result of very fundamental structural reforms that are taking place here. What we need to do is that level of understanding, that level of empathy, that level of hope that we believe that things are going to get better for everybody in the society and all that. Then we'll now have a much more better society. But the more divisive we are, the more divisive we are, the more acrimonious we are, then the tendency for us to suffer 2 times will be there, because if we do it, that sacrifices we are paying won't work. So to make it work, we need that level of understanding, empathy, compassion, and unity, and hope to get through it.
Yeah, indeed, it's human nature to live peacefully and harmoniously, and strengthening national unity is vital for fostering social cohesion, stability, security, and all that in any country. And I'm bringing Musa Ojodo Abdulrahman into this conversation now. Tell us, what are the contributing factors that hinder unity and integration in a country like Nigeria with diverse, ethnic groups, religion, and all that?
Thank you so much for having me once again. Sorry. For about 30 years of my life, meditating upon this great entity, Nigeria, and I would like to share the discovery I came about. I came to the realization that great and unified nation do not happen by historical accident. It's never a happenstance. You don't run into great, they say it is unified. It's going to. They are product of a conscious statecraft. That is why exceptional people that had transformed their society positively and altered the course of history for their generation had combined wisdom and power in the practice of statecraft. And that is why I had been advocating that we should bring wisdom to power. What have we been doing with power? I ask anybody that is close to me that is in a position of power or that is aspiring, I do ask humbly, what do you want to do with power? People had been in a position of power since independence.
Since before independence.
Since before independence. People are there now. People are struggling to be. I ask, what do we do with power? And I advocate because that is it's not supposed to be, it's not like personal philosophy. That is, it had been like that. It is only wisdom and transcendent as such that can bring meaning, and direction to power. And that draws me to the history of Nigeria. And I can connect it to what the doctor said, that human nature, yes, human nature is indeed, can do both. It depends on how personal, is the personal striving. I can strive. A woman is created within that. You can become an angel. You have the capacity to become an angel, and you have the capacity to become an animal, depending on what you strive to. Then again, every society, in the evolution of every society, every generation must discover its own mission, either fulfill it or betray it. The generation of our great founding father founded an independent country for us. Yes, independent, take. But the greatest and the noblest of all of this generation is to consciously make a nation out of that country. A country is not a nation. A country transcends a nation. A nation is a spirit. A nation is a consciousness. Is a consciousness and a collective aspiration of the people. And except those people know how to harness that dimension, in which I'll talk about, you can never birth a nation. Nations are born and are fathered. And before that birth, they are conception. And that is what we've not been able to do. That is why I advocate, our organization will say to us, there must be a broad national dialogue. There must be a broad national conversation that who are we? And that will answer this pertinent question, 5 questions that are in this my over 30 years meditation. We will have to have identity crisis. That is, who are we as a people? Where is our commonality of purpose? Doctor talk about purpose. We do talk about purpose, but where is our commonality of purpose? What is the foundational principle of this entity called Nigeria? Which philosophy impairs the character of this state? And what is our dream? What is the Nigerian dream? What is our aspiration, ambition, and where do we need? A people must have a mental picture of the future they want to feature as a people. Well, if you didn't answer this pertinent fundamental question, you can never born a nation. You can never birth a nation. Nigeria is a nation waiting to be born. And I hope this conversation is part of the birthing of that nation. That's the conceptualization. I'm telling you. There's nothing. I have written to the President Palmer. Immediately become president, we wrote to him, our organization wrote to him. Because it's not about president, just like I said, it's not about political party obtaining power. What do you do with power? If you cannot harness our common, the most durable power is the power of community. Is the power of the collective. How do you harness the power of the collective? Because there's absolutely no way, if you like, bring an angel or any president before. I told people that our dear president is not the cause of this our problem. It's not the cause. So we are Nigerians. Let's face it now. When Buhari was there, we said Buhari then and I said I'm in my early 50s. I've been in Nigeria in my early 50s, and I said since I was born, each government, you say this one is better than this, and I know that reaffirming that my meditation I talk again, I'm going to share. I came to that realization that we are faced with fundamental challenges, and fundamental challenges of life cannot be solved with the same state of consciousness or knowledge level that created them, meaning that we must begin to explore the inner dimension of our intelligence, of who we truly are as a people. I'm telling you, the exigencies of our time. We must bring transcendent wisdom, superior thinking to our channel, to our national assembly, to our national challenges. Because there's absolutely no way you can foster a society with a fragmented and divergent allegiance. There's no way a people can cultivate aspiration, incubate vision, and nurture a dream to fruition without commonality of purpose.
In other words, we are not thinking enough.
Yes, of course we are thinking, but not enough. If it's enough, it's on our face, my dear brother. It's in our face now. Why are we still here? If we're thinking, why are we talking about national unity in this level? We should be able to progress. Since our founding fathers, we've been talking about national unity. Of course, you say no nation is perfect, but we need to think more. That is what I'm saying. In fact, that's what I said. We must begin to explore the inner dimension, the real universal intelligence. That cannot be the level of ordinary people, because it's not just like we started about. Nation is about what I say is a spirit. It's a spirit of the people. You need to know the dimension of that spiritual dimension, the mental dimension, before it becomes manifestation. How do you access that inner dimension? You must have developed the arsenals of your mind against the encroachment of this transcendent and ephemeral joy of life to get that dimension. This one I'm talking to you now. I said 30 years. You were surprised that it took all my whole life. Nature will take every. I'm a student of nature. I'm a caution student of nature. Nature, before nature teaches you, you pay, but you don't pay in naira or dollar. You pay attention.
Yes,
you pay attention. So attention. I pay rapt attention, meaning that you must go to seclusion. If I get this dimension that I'm sharing, that even tongue can say, it's just tongue cannot say it because it's you can't clothe revelation. A nation is a revelation, my brother, but you need to carry it to the level of reason so that at least we can reason together. It's just like the Bible said, let us reason together.
All right, thank you. And reason we must.
Yes.
But let me quickly get to Kaduna to get the views of Reverend Hayab. Now, he said two things that readily pick. He talked about, being a thinking nation, we have to think more. But he also talked about, the responsibility of the political class. Because we as a people have handed, everybody cannot be leader. And so we have handed our powers, we have handed that responsibility to the political class by electing. And when you elect, you just trust them to do what is right by the nation and by you. But many, ironically, think that, the challenge of Nigeria is with the political class. And they blame the political class for, fostering this unity for selfish gains. So what do you think we need to do to overcome that level of that level of another word, parochialism?
Thank you very much. We are discussing today how to strengthen national unity. And from my side, I think if we want to find serious and honest solution, then we must keep away the blame game, stop telling people who is at fault or who is right, but look inward to decide as a person, what do I do to strengthen national unity? I've had this conversation, probably I may have also shared and said, yes, the political class are responsible, but you see, this political class are not spirits. They are human beings. They lived among us. They grew up with us and later had the privilege or have the privilege to become political leaders. So in the first place, they are Nigerians. They are citizens from home, from community, society, or from religious institution, or whatever group that you may want to attach them. I believe that if we want to strengthen national unity, we must first strengthen family unity. What kind of family relationship do we have in many of our homes in Nigeria today? When you just sit and talk about the man who is president, or the man who is governor, or the man who is senator, he comes from a home. How was he brought up? And that's where religious institutions play a vital role, because they are part of strengthening national unity. How do we train and how do we groom people at home, in our faith places, to be patriotic, to love their nation, to love their siblings, to love their friends, to love their neighbors, to love the people they meet? I quite understood and agree with what the last speaker said, but you see, there's a problem with this country. We are dealing with a larger community that do not have this kind of knowledge that we want to present. And if we want to bring them using those terms and all those skills we have, hardly can they fit in. And at the end of the day, a larger part of them will not be part of our national unity. So we need to carry people where their knowledge is and how they will get involved, so that they will feel this thing belongs to me, I am part of it, we are doing it together. In the first place, I wasn't born a Christian. I was born in Nigeria and as a Nigerian. I grew up to understand that I should give my life to Jesus Christ as my personal Lord and Savior. Then I became a Christian. So my first identity is actually a human being. And the second identity is Nigeria. Then I later became a Christian. As I grew up to know the tribe my father belongs to, then I know that I'm of Ham extraction. So when people know this from grassroots, from home, it helps them begin to think, oh, this is where I'm proud of. This is where I should build. This is where I should defend. This is where I should contribute. This is where I must make this place healthy. I must see everybody in this place as about division in this country. But you see, the moment we step away from the shore of this country, you will find out that those walls, those prejudices we have against each other will fall down. Because when I meet anybody out there, we don't talk about your tribe, we just talk about you are Nigerian. And so we must build that. Then we go take them to schools where children will be taught patriotism. That's when we will be building. But you see, when we keep talking as if something we are just going to bring them from up and it happens, and we use very important terms but difficult for the larger population to come to terms with it, then we are not going to get the results. So I want to subscribe that first, for national unity, if we want to strengthen national unity, we build that kind of foundation from families. The families will understand this, appreciate this, they pass it to their children understand it, appreciate it, they go out to the community and live it. The community grow up with this understanding, the community becomes the larger society, and at large. So you will find people from south, from east, from west, from north, and every region beginning to see themselves, oh, I am my brother's keeper, I am part of the society, I am part of the family, I don't want my sibling to be hot, I don't want my neighbor to be hot, I don't want the other person next door to feel anything. Then everybody is seeing it. After all, governance, as we define democracy, is about the people, for the people. So there's no leader without us. We make leadership. Leaders don't make us. And until we take ownership of this, we will keep talking about national unity as if it belongs to Tinubu. Tinubu is not the owner of national unity. I am the owner of national unity. If I do what will bring national unity, you do what will bring national unity, everybody is doing what will bring national unity. Young children are taught to understand the importance of national unity. Parents promote national unity at home. Then national unity becomes the idea, this consciousness, this spirit, and all that we are talking about of people. So whoever becomes president, nobody cares. It is about Nigeria. Whoever becomes leader, it's not the matter. It is about Nigeria. You want to ensure Nigeria is healthy. You want to ensure Nigeria progress. So everybody is participating. When you are called to be given office, like our DG is there, you just know simply, I am Nigeria, privileged to hold trust for larger community. But when you don't even know you are Nigeria in the first place, when you are given office, you just think that you are smarter than others. That's why you got the office. And that's why you won't even care about the country, and you want to demolish everything. Then the issue of trust, or the issue of corruption, the issue of nepotism will come into play. So I want to subscribe that if we want to strengthen national unity, we just look at the basics, the things that really matters to the people, and who are the larger people. We find them in, we bring them in, we carry them along. In that kind of understanding, then we will make headway. So whoever eventually becomes something in the future have a foundation of knowing who he is and why he is where he is. He is not there because of anything, because he's a Nigerian.
National unity requires a multifaceted, approach that focuses on inclusion, respect, and equitable development for the nation. Now let's bring in Imam Fuad into this conversation, and I know you're active when it comes to issues of national unity cutting across tribe and religion. How can we achieve a cohesive and united country?
Thank you so much, and good morning everybody. Once again, I want to appreciate my other speakers there, as well as Dr. Olabrahman and my guy from Kaduna. As we all know, if we close our eyes and you think of Nigeria, ask yourself, what did you see in your hearts? Just close your eyes and think Nigeria. What do you see? The young ones see is a situation where they are in a position and they are packing free money. That is an average, what an average person thinks, what he sees when he thinks Nigeria. But even the adults, those who are grown up, let them close their eyes and see what the perception of Nigeria they have in their mind. If you ask them, what do you see? Most of them don't see anything. They only see themselves, they see their family or their tribe. Now, with the condition where we find ourselves, the first question we should ask, how did we get here? If we know how we got to where we are, we'll be able to know how to move forward. You have raised one of the reasons how we came here, how we got to where we are. An average Nigerian knows the problem of Nigeria. The problem is, how do we solve this problem? Those are the things that many people are now asking. They do not even have in their mind. There's no First and foremost, you have raised the issue of inclusivity, you have raised the issue of injustice, you have raised the issue of lack of development, but I will add more, one thing, lack of ignorance. These are the things that put us to the level where we are now. First and foremost, the government, we should have an idea of what type of Nigeria do we have. I was in the program, the DGNO was asking, who is a Nigerian? What qualified you as a Nigerian in the first instance? Is it because you are born in Nigeria? Is it because your parents are from Nigeria? Is it because, what are those things that makes us Nigerian? We've not actually defined those things that makes us Nigerian. Then one, then two, which points are we heading to as Nigerian? What is our vision? What is our mission as a nation? It is not one big book that we are carrying up and down as our vision, as our mission. An average Nigerian should be able to know this is where we are in this country. That is a country that they only promote three things: good health, education, and family. When you know where you are going and why you need to get there, then we'll be able to know how to get to those places where we want to be. You have a kind of focal points where exactly we are going to. But how do we get to those focal points? There are the things now which I think this program is trying to solve. As we all know, let's in a situation where there is no justice, let's start from one, justice. You see what happened in the country recently about some people who are trying to help other people, and some of them, they are now being put on behind the bars because of the problem that is not their own. How do you think other people will be interested in doing anything tomorrow? Because some people has power, some people has strength, some people believe that some people must come down. People will never do that. But also, we have to look at the people who intends to help other people too. Many people, they have good intention, but there is no technical know-how. And there is no way, like lawyer used to say, there is no ignorance in law. Whatever anybody wants to do, you must do it. Then secondly, you look at the issue of not have an idea of what your nation is, or who your country is, and look at it from religious angle in the area of ignorance. We discover in this country that, let us look at tribes and ethnic groups. You discover most tribal, most ethnic groups from their origin, we are all related to ourselves. You can see an Igbo man, when they trace where they are coming from, so many things, you will see they're related with other tribes. Look at Igala, their tribe, they are related with other tribes. Look at Yoruba. Yoruba said they have relationship with the Borno people. So it means most of us, we actually don't have education. We do not have understanding of who we are and where we are coming from. And if we also move to the area of religion, we discover that most of us, we are almost all ignorant of the religion which we think we practice and the religion of other people. Most of us do not understand our own religion precisely, talk less of understanding the religion of other people. And those are the crises which we face. And also, those who are there, let me now move to government side, those are the position of authority. When I say position of authority, I do not think of only the president, I do not think of only the governor. I mean any position where you find yourself. We all have duty to show one thing, to show leadership, and to show inclusivity, and to show sincere leadership. When you are in authority, if people get what they are right, their dues, without them knowing you, without them even talking to you, and they know that they get this thing, before you know it, everybody will be doing the right thing because they would like to copy you. But when we have leaders who are only conscious of themselves, they don't even care of what the way people feel, not knowing that no matter how rich you are, no matter how powerful you are, the moment you are in a position of authority, you become a model. So you should think, you should rewind the way you do your things. You should try to reorganize the way you do your things. Because you know, even the way you sleep, people want to copy it. The way you relate with people, people want to copy it. The way you eat, people want to copy it. And if you are not conscious of this position that people, Almighty God has put you, you might be thinking that you have a good intent and do the right thing. You might actually be the one that is leading the destruction of the country in terms of unity, in terms of progress.
Imam Fuad Adeyemi, thank you very much. I'm just wondering, and I'll get to Dr. Chogu. Let's talk a bit about the things that tend to divide us. Now, you want to talk about ethnic divides, religious divides, where we had alluded to politics as the umbrella sometimes. But how do we better manage our diversity such that we strike a healthy balance of ethnic, religion, and indeed other balances to ensure cohesion and ensure unity and peace?
Okay, thank you very much. I've been in this space for a very long time, so I can relate with it and tell you where we are coming from, some of the problems and challenges, and perhaps where we are going to. Our framework, which is the 1999 Constitution, that makes provision for a three-tier government, the federal, the state, and the local government. As at 1999, with the first democratic government under leadership of President Obasanjo, they came up with what we call the lead, the seed, and the fed. That is the local government empowerment scheme, and all that. But I can tell you from experience, what we've been doing actually is trying to build peace and unity in abstraction. Abstraction in the sense that at the federal level, we mount it very well. Perhaps at the state level, we mount it very well, but at the local government, it is not there. And local government is the front line, for issues around governance, where the people are, where the family, Reverend Hayab talked about, and other colleagues talked about, the residing. But local government, you and I know, it's near no absence. And that is why I relate strongly, with the federal government's position. If you look at the federal government also, under the leadership of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, realized fundamentally that the local government is very key to whatever structural reforms you need to do. And I think that is why the Attorney General quickly went to get Supreme Court judgment to ensure the independence and the autonomy of the local government area. Because if you don't get the local government areas right, every other attempt to build unity will not just be there. Every sense of ownership and inclusion that we are talking about is just not going to be there. And since 1999, the local government have actually suffered. Suffered in the sense that some places allocations go, nobody knows where the allocation is. So if you want that sense of inclusion, that sense of belonging, that sense of ownership, that sense of, okay, I'm a Nigerian, it must start from the local government area where everybody resides. If the apparatuses of government, at that level, must be present and seems to be functioning. They've not been functioning, and that's the truth of the matter. So that is why we all must buy into that Supreme Court judgment to ensure that our respective 774 local governments across the country are working and are functional, and people can be elected too. And the people too, the voters at that level to mobilize to ensure that they vote. A second key component is that there is what we call the structure of any society, the substructure, what holds the society together. One of the fundamental things that holds society together is the economy. If your economy is not strong, virile, and enduring, every other thing, the superstructure, which is the politics, of course, which of course also influences the economy, to a very large extent. But it's important to get the economy right. You and I also understand that for a period of time, government actually struggled. When I mean struggled, so the borrowing, struggling to pay wages and to keep government running. I think that in the last 18 months, because I'm a scholar, I'm an intellectual in government, I'm a technocrat that has been in government, and all that, and I can relate with some of these things and say it as it is, because in the last 18 months, if the president comes on a presidential media chart to say that in the last 18 months, I've not borrowed, that is, I've not done ways and means in terms of printing money, and I've not touched a kobo from NNPC revenue, to run the government, it means that there is something great that is about transforming this country. So here we find a government that is structuring, in spite of the hardship, let's be very frank with ourselves, in spite of the hardship, in spite of some of the remedial actions that have been taking place. But I think that if you look at this fundamental structural transformation of where we are coming from and where we need to go to, I think that there is a need, for us to understand that in building this thing, the president is disposed to ensuring that the local government councils, the local government areas are functioning. Once those areas are beginning to function, issues around conflict prevention, conflict management, and conflict resolution at the local level becomes effective. That is why you see people, is because also these things are not working. We talk about issues around state police, we talk about issues around governed areas and all that. But once those things are working, you discover that the conflicts that we're going to be having in terms of violence and all that, they will reduce fundamentally because governance is taking place. And once the economy also picks up, I can assure you also that, for example, this Christmas in Abuja market was overflooded with chicken. In my house, for example, we have over 50 chickens still left because people aren't buying. The price dropped. So what does that tell you? That gives me, for example, hope that as the security people who are working to ensure that the local spaces we inhabit and where farming takes place, I can tell you authoritatively, I have a team of researchers who traveled and they came through Kaduna Road and they arrived at Abuja 10 o'clock in the night. Of course, we were all apprehensive, but they said the road was super busy. So what that tells you is that people are working. You and I, we are all tired of this thing. And I think that the same thing people in authority too, good people in authority too, are very tired of some of these challenges because it's embarrassing, for you, as a Nigerian. Now you go offshore, maybe to other African countries, and they are saying, wait a minute, what exactly is happening? So I think that it's time for all of us to rally around each other, rally around government, rally around our neighbors, rally around, groups and all that to ensure that we begin to deal with these things the way we need to deal it. And I think that I want to call on the political class. The political class should speak with understanding. It doesn't matter whether you're in government or you are in opposition now. Of this country. And in building this country, we need to tell the truth. Where the government is doing things right, for example, we need to support it and then even help to advance it more, open up the frontier. Because there's no monopoly of knowledge. Look at the issue around tax reforms, for example. If you take time to look at those documents around the tax reform, it's a major fundamental thing that is going to bring development to the local level and across board. So what people need to do is to have an understanding. Is that an area, for example, from this particular document you think that has challenges? What are those challenges? You bring it out for dialogue and for conversation, and for it to be dealt with. Rather than demonizing particular document or initiatives that comes. Because the more we keep demonizing, the more we keep retrogressing. Indeed. And that is why we need to support initiatives that are good.
We need to support initiatives that are good from the grassroots, and the religious leaders and traditional leaders also have a great role to play in ensuring that people begin to understand the reforms being dished out by government. And at the media chat, President Tinubu said, well, this tax reform is not going anywhere, but it's open for conversation, for negotiation.
That's right.
Yes. And at times when we look at ourselves, we attend functions and say, okay, we should sing the national anthem. We say, though tribes and tongues may differ, in brotherhood we stand. And then for our national says, yes, I pledge to Nigeria, my country to remain. Yes, you understand. Are these just words? We just go to events and just say. Do we say it from our heart? Is that the reason why we cannot, like Imam Fuad said, most people don't even understand their religion before they begin to understand another person's religion. National unity should be built on the foundation of trust. What is your thought on that?
I love that place. You see, what you call unity does not happen in any society just that way. Unity of what? I tell you, I'm a conscious student of nature. Nothing in nature unites the diverse without a purpose. I can connect it from to what Reverend said from your family. And there was an agreement. I will marry you. There was a purpose, and that is where nation building begins from. Nation building is building a common sense of purpose, a sense of shared destiny, a common imagination that everybody believes in and co-build to fruition against all odds. We don't have that. And that is kind of conversation I want to pervade our dialogue space. Carry it. I was particularly happy when I saw the intro. I was the one dancing that way. I was the one. I didn't even know. We called it. I was the one. I was doing my own little. We are doing my own little in every time we do Love Carnival. We are doing. I was one dancing like that with that when we were doing the intro. Okay. Yes, in that intro before this program, I was happy because that is why I'm here. We are not Nigeria because of accident of birth. We had been Nigeria since eternity, and that is why we're here. Now there is a purpose. God brought together the greatest concentration of blacks on the surface of the earth. There is a purpose for that, and that is the purpose people should know. You don't be unity. You need. There must be a unity of purpose, and people must understand the purpose of who they are as a Nigerian, and that is the part of the identity crisis we face. Not only Nigeria as a humanity as a whole, and you are just having our own share. And simple. Everybody knows this, but we need to tell it. I came to that. I said, just like Reverend said. You see, we are all saying the same thing. I said, I came. I said, okay. Part of my realization, I was okay. I came to the realization that just like in the spirit of what we are celebrating, Jesus Christ, what does Jesus Christ represented? He represented a perfection of how human beings supposed to be. Yes. In Islam, we call it al-izan al-kamil. This is just like what Prophet Muhammad represents to. This is, and that is what God's intent. What is intent? Because we must understand the responsibility of divinity and responsibility of humanity. God, in His holy magnanimity, and in His holy magnanimity has gave to us. Let me use that word. He said, "For God so loved the world, He gave His only Son." Jesus Christ, right? For God so loved Nigerians, He gave the most blessed country called Nigeria, space to us.
With some people,
for you all us as a custodian, as a representative. That is what Quran said too. Chapter 2, verse 30. He said, we are representative of God, and that's what Bible said too. Say, let us create man in our own likeness. When I did the etymology, I love to go into root origin of a language, etymology, because language is the tool of thought. So I look at it. In the Hebrew word, it means that a representative, just like the Quran says, Khalifah, a representative, somebody that is going to represent. Are we really representing God? Can we ask ourselves in our own home, are we really representing God to make manifest the great and unparalleled destiny of this entity called Nigeria? No. So we should start from ourselves. Just like he said, home is the beginning brick of the society. I do tell my children that even if I cannot change Nigeria, I can change it, because you cannot throw something, just small thing, out of my car. Then my children will say, hey, new Nigeria. That is new Nigeria. They'll say new Nigeria. You can't. They cannot. That's a good one. Yes, I told myself, okay, if I can, because that is the beginning brick of society. Every society mimic that. That's the home. The family. That's the family. There's a speech I wrote in my website. People are responding. They love it. Say, where are the fathers? I'm speaking to. That's my inspiration to speak to this. This. So where are the fathers? Because where goes the father, goes the nation. We need a father to father this Nigeria, and start from that home to the person that is up now. I wrote to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. I said, you have a unique strength to father a nation now. Reforms cannot do that only. It's good. Reform. What does the reform does? I hope anybody clear. You are representative of government. Reform does. Simply what reform does is to talk to. Is to try to improve on the already existing system and the processes within the current governance framework. And you and I know that the only thing that kept this Nigeria going is the thing that created, which is God. It is not what you and I did, though. I'm telling you, if not, it will have scattered. I'm telling you, it is. I said, let me repeat again. The only thing that kept this nation going is that thing that created it, and that has a purpose for it. To create Nigeria, it's not an accident, or God is not. There's a purpose. The purpose is to establish a civilization for humanity.
But have you imagined the absence of government? Yes, if we attribute everything to God, yes, nobody doubts the existence of God here, and what God can do, the supernatural, the unseen hand. But have you imagined the absence of government?
That is what I'm saying, my brother. That is what I said. God has done. People are going to pray. I said you don't need to pray. We need to take responsibility. That is you are just supporting what I'm saying.
Because God
has done. I said He has given us.
He has given us. A child is born, and the government shall be on His shoulder.
Unto us a child is born.
What we do.
Unto us a child is born. Unto us a son is given.
Yes.
A sonship are given. Yes. And the government shall be upon our shoulder. The government is upon you and I shoulder. And we are the government. There's no, when I say government, I'm starting from my own self. I'm coming from my own home. I said we are not taking enough responsibility. done his own. God will not, you will never pray to God and will answer the prayer what he has already done for you. You cannot wait to God to stop, and God will not build road for you. God will not build that Nigeria for us. We are co-creator to create a nation out of this great entity called Nigeria. A nation is a creation of purpose established by people. One of my foster father, one day he called me. He's one of the former governors of Nigeria. He's passed on, a great man. He studied in Harvard. He told me that I said, I dusted everybody in Harvard, meaning that he's very good. Yes. His department, he said he beat everybody. When he called me, he saw me he said, early morning, he said, Abdul, close the door. I believe in this your new Nigeria. Please, what is this new Nigeria? He just gave me a plain sheet. I didn't even know this, that I want to share it today. And you know what you put your mind to, it comes, it's an intuition, it comes just like that. Naturally. I just put my pen, I said, okay, Dad. In new Nigeria, I'm not talking about coming to, it's not only going to have another country. Now, God has already given us a country. I said, okay, a new Nigeria is a conscious creation of with a clear and well-defined unifying purpose, established by eternal principles and driven by lofty ideas. I said that the nations are created. If you do not consciously create them, you can never build any. This is an eternal universal principle that's applicable to all society on earth. He said, he sat down and said, I've never had it before. I mean, Harvard guy, this is. I said, it's coming. I had to go and learn this definition because I didn't know it before. Yeah. How many nations are created? Let's start creating. Unity will not come. Development will come except with discourse, except we created a conscious creation. And what is that? Let me please permit me to quickly round this up. It has happened before. Nigeria is at the pinnacle of the most significant evolutionary transition. Anyone that can discern time, if you need to understand the knowledge of time that you are, anyone that can discern time, you understood that where we are had never happened before. That's why people are saying that we have not been so divided before. But nature is teaching us something. Are we learning from that nature? There is when I mean is a corresponding action that we need to take now, and it has happened before. If any society in evolution, I told people that we are going through what I call, you have to pass through it. There must be an upheaval. There's what they call an eternal death of nation. Yes. Nation die and come, but within that death, a new must be born, and which is our responsibility. Yes. A new must be born, and which is our responsibility. Yes, a new nation must be born, and you said a nation is a creation of purpose. Yes. Let's bring in Reverend John Joseph Hayab into this conversation. You've been listening, and the conversation is getting quite interesting. You know, we have a large number of younger generation, born in this country and being born, who will be leaders of tomorrow, who will be able to lead this country. Yesterday I was on Twitter, somebody's posted something, and the hate, in the response from Nigerians, and most of them are young Nigerians, the hate that was emanating from it sort of gave me, I felt sick, and I said it that, there's so much hate in this nation that is sickening to the core of my stomach. They say Nigeria is a mistake. Is it a mistake that we are together?
Well, I don't subscribe to that. As far as I'm concerned, as the last speaker said, I believe that God divinely created and placed this entity called Nigeria for a special purpose. And every day of my life, what I want to see myself doing, and I hope my children will continue and my grandchildren will do it, is to be part of this making Nigeria what God wants her to be. And so when I speak about Nigeria, every time I don't want to look at another person, I want to see myself, because if I am not doing anything to make Nigeria great, I will probably join that young man in writing what you said, though you did not tell us exactly what he said. I also read many pages of social media where young people will come out and speak words about Nigeria and against Nigeria as if Nigeria does not or should not exist at all. Why? Probably they are coming from pains, they are coming from lack, they are coming from the challenge they see, they are looking at the reality. Sometimes they wake up to see someone who probably were in school together, better off than that person, but overnight, because of poor governance or because of nepotism, such a person just becomes something else and do not care whether they progress or not and look down on them. Sometimes the hatred on that could make you think that the whole Nigerian system is bad. But be honest with yourself, the larger Nigerians are good people. The fact about it is that those who occupy the social media space that we read some of those negative things are not many as the other larger Nigerians. That's why every day I'm conscious that in this country there are people whose voices have not been heard. And until them to be part of what we are doing, we will still be going into the same cycle of what is happening. So there are larger Nigerians who are so proud of this country, who wish they would have opportunity to transform this country. They've never gotten that opportunity, probably due to lack of opportunity is not there, or the situation have not warranted. I wish we could come up with programs that will amplify such voices, such faces, such individuals, such groups. Nigeria may have done us wrong, or certain people in leadership in Nigeria may have done something wrong, but do not take away the real picture and the real purpose of Nigeria. Because in Nigeria, with multiple people, over 230 million as it was a month ago, you should know that the percentage that we listen to, the percentage we see, the percentage we hear, truly speaking, are not up to 30%. So what do you do with the other larger 180 million people or 190 million people? How can we get their voices? How can we get them to value their a change? Then this young generation we are talking about can begin to know that, oh, wait a minute, though I've always thought of bad things about Nigeria, but something good is here, something good is happening here. There are still good people like me, or there are still good people I can trust. Because every day you wake up, what you see, what you hear is those groups that you think have cheated Nigeria, those groups you think are not playing, are not helping Nigeria. No, there are good Nigerians. I was listening to King Charles yesterday, and all he could do was to praise just people who are caregivers. There are caregivers in Nigeria. The passion they go into that job, the passion they go into that activity for Nigerians, for fellow citizens, irrespective of identity or tribe or religion. Honestly speaking, you will just be proud that you belong, that they could give out everything. My brother had an accident on this day about 13 years ago and was brought to a hospital. The woman who attended to him is a Muslim. She just had the name. She did everything all through the night. Though he passed on that day, but what she did, I have not forgotten that. So when you tell me that Nigerians are bad, I will remember someone good as her, and I wish that people like her will grow up to be the kind of leaders Nigeria should get. So let me celebrate her and keep talking about that one who will come probably in 2, 3 years or 4 years or 8 years, may have disappeared, another person will come. So I am thinking that these young people just need to see and hear and know that there are other powerful Nigerians, kind-hearted Nigerians, loving and caring Nigerians, patriotic Nigerians, who are willing to do what is right. In my office, I always remind my staff that, look, if we are expected to pay tax, I don't want you to wait until we pay tax. I'm in the national TV, I don't need to say that, but let me just use that as an example. There was a time that the revenue office have to ask my accountant, why are you tax such early? And he said, my boss will not want us to wait because he wants to see these things done. I'm not doing it to get anybody praises. I'm just thinking from my mind. If everybody in Nigeria will do it right, then Nigeria will be great. So let me start doing it right. Probably the second, the fourth, the fifth, the 10th, the million, the 3 million, the 10 million, then we can all get it right. But if every day I'm just waiting, oh, Abdullah didn't do it right, oh, John didn't do it right, oh, Chogu is not saying it right, then we're not going to have progress. So the young Nigerians with time will come to know. Let's amplify those voices they have not heard, and it will change their mind.
Thank you very much. Indeed, if every one of us, each and every one of us will do their bit, do the right thing, then we are headed for a great nation. We'll pause here for a break so that when we return, we'll continue this conversation. Please stay with us. All right, thank you for staying with us. This is still Good Morning Nigeria on the network service of the NTA. And of course, we've been discussing unity, national cohesion, and all that it takes to keep a nation together. Now, let me get quickly to Imam Fuad Adeyemi, who joins us from Osun State. Now, everybody mentions religion as one of the factors that is capable of dividing the nation, or even one that is used to divide the nation. Yet, I look back, none of the major religions in Nigeria preaches hatred, for instance. It says, okay, you have to love your neighbor, you have to give at certain times, and even all the time, you have to live in peace with your neighbor, yet religion is used. How is that manipulation possible?
Yes, naturally, you rightly mentioned it. It's possible, but I will give you an experience that I had, I'm still having, in the kind of work I do. This is the only work I do every day in my life. How do we get ourselves together? How do we move our country forward? Let me give an experience in the Al-Habibiyah Mosque. During the month of Ramadan, we used to cook food for like 2,000, 3,000 people every day, which is originally specially meant for the fasting Muslims. But consciously, we removed the word fasting Muslim from the food bank to mean that anybody to the mosque and take food in as much as you are a human being. And the only thing that qualifies you to come and take food in the mosque at that time is for you to be a human being. I had an experience that when some people come, they are not Muslim, they pretend to join when the Muslims are praying. When I discovered that about 5, 6, 7 years ago, I told them that this is not a place where religion matters. It is you that matters. Stay until when we finish prayer. When the food is being served, everybody will get, and everybody gets equally. Not because one is a Muslim, because it's there, it gets better. And I'll also give you another experience of zakat. We give zakat in Islam. Zakat is meant to develop people. And non-Muslims, I use that word, non-Muslims are also entitled to be given zakat. There was an instance, a Muslim brought to get zakat in the mosque, and when zakat was given, the Christian got more money than what the Muslim got. I don't want to take you to the long story of how it happened. So when the Christian gets his own check, he asked the Muslim who brought him, he now asked him, did you get your zakat? The Muslim man told him, say yes. How much did you get? The Muslim told the non-Muslim how much he got. He now checked his own check. He discovered that his own, that is the non-Muslim, was more than that of the Muslim. He now kept it in the pocket and he ran away, thinking that probably it's a mistake. They will come and collect it again. And we made him realize that this is not a mistake. We discovered that you deserve more based on what you wrote to us, and that is why you get more than the Muslim, because what we give is based on everybody's request. So we need conscious justice and inclusivity to help our country grow. And we also need education. I want to appreciate NTA for Abrahamic Mission. Incidentally, a reverend is always a regular guest on the program. We see what the program has done, and what has the program tried to solve? The problem of ignorance. The Muslim does not know much about his religion, like I mentioned the other time. The Christian does not know much about his own religion. The Muslim does not know anything about the Christian religion, and the Christian does not know much about the Muslim religion. And there is an adage that you are an enemy to what you don't know. By the time you have an information, you know the right thing. Before you know it, you'll be able to see that you are actually not enemy to yourself. You can eat together, you can work together, you can play together, and your children can move together and move the country forward. I watched some group of people recently trying to use to divide us the more. And I called them and I told them that, have you seen somebody that was put on the earth after his death, and we're able to see this is the bone of the Muslim and this is the bone of the Christian? See, there's nothing like that. Not until we're able to see ourselves that we should understand that the unity of where we are coming from and the unity of where we are going to. We should not allow just the little that we have in between to continuously to divide us. The unity of where we are coming from. If everybody should go back to his mother, all of us will end up being in the belly of Adam, and it means all of us we are from there. And if we also go back to where we are going, all of us will also go back into the mother earth. So it means we have a unity of where we are coming from and unity of where we are going to. So the little time we have in this world shouldn't have been a thing that will disunite us, because like my brother has said, Almighty Allah said that we the creatures, we are actually we are representing God on earth. And you should ask yourself, how do you represent God? You must see everything, you must see everybody, you must see God in everything and everybody which you see around you. And when you close your eyes and see God on that, it means you'll be able to do the right thing. And we also translate it to nation building. Like everybody has mentioned, we need to have a concrete, a one-word thing for us to know where exactly we are going as a nation. What do you want to achieve as a nation? Where do you want to be as a nation? When this thing is simple, it's easy, and everybody see it, everybody will be working towards it, because we know we all have a unity of purpose. Where exactly we want to be, and how do we get there will now be the contribution of each and every one of us.
Imam Fuad, thank you so much. You've raised some issues, and you from every indication, we all know that we are intertwined. And Nigeria is a beautiful country, whether we like it or not. It's the most beautiful country in the world. I tell people I'm proudly a Nigerian anytime. So Doc, how important is education in teaching the value of unity and diversity to the future generations, just like we spoke earlier?
I think that education is
very important.
Education is central to the entire conversations that we are having.
Yes.
And education has both formal and informal. Education, like we all agree, start from the family front in terms of values, morality, spirituality, and ethics as a human being, first and foremost. That is from the cradle when you were born, to perhaps age 2, age 3. I think the federal government also have a system of education in place, which is the 6334 system, and perhaps Nigerians don't know that it is free, from basic, that is from primary school. There's 3, that is junior secondary school. So that process is provide for some bit of socialization and enculturation of what the Nigerian that we are talking about stands for, in terms of what our national anthem and our national pledge and our coat of arms and everything represents. It is at that point, that process of socialization and our national symbol, that is where the appreciation of all these things come to be. And I think that we had all those things going for us until I think sometime in the 80s, around 89, 86, when the issues around the structural adjustment program started, and then there was this liberalization, deregulations, and a lot of things, and then opened our space, to other groups. And what are those other groups? We have our conventional Christian, Muslim, systems that we are running for us, but suddenly we begin to find some bit of new religious groups, Islam and in Christianity, and of course transnational organized criminality too, that come to begin to desocialize us from our national sense of identity. And once those elements begin to come, you begin to find the build-up of extremist group. Some of us grew up in Christian, Muslim neighborhoods and community or atheists, but we never relate on the ground of religious identity. No. We saw ourselves as brothers and sisters, and all that. And I've been privileged, of course, to go through public schools, in Nigeria, from primary, secondary school was community, then university was a public institution. In my class of 1991 set in political science, people from all over Nigeria, were in that class at the University of Jos. So there are things that we need to consciously do to promote this thing with our education. I mean, as a vice chancellor, as a head of NTA and all that, you must have this sense of inclusion, which our education should be able to promote. Because education gives you the capacity for critical thought analysis and for you to do the right thing. I'm just going to cite this particular example, how ideas, work, to change systems. And I'll talk on the sense of inclusion, which is one of the 8 priority agenda of Mr. President, and how we at the Institute for Peace and Conflict Resolution have upped that game, in terms of inclusion, social inclusion for a marginal group of people called the Babambola, or the ones they call waste speakers, which is a bit derogatory. So we call them waste speakers. And you and I know that they are all over the nooks and crannies of this country. They are marginalized, they are stigmatized, they are stereotyped. So what we do was to see how we're going to begin to formalize this sector of people that are already posing some threat. They don't have national identity, they don't have access to finance or capital or whatever. They are like free rangers, but a bit organized. Organized because they form over 56% of the waste waste recycling system in terms of plastics and all that, and then the iron thing. So we, as a government agency, we are prioritizing that to see how the government will begin to formalize those sectors. Once we begin to formalize them, all these issues around the lifting of our ions, and all the drains and everything that we find on our highways will begin to reduce them, because we can easily identify, trace, and ensure that they, to their sense of well-being, are there. If as a chief executive of a federal government agency, I can go to a waste dump, one of the largest waste dump in Africa, called Olushoshan Dump at Ojota area there, to interview these waste pickers and all that, is to tell you the change, that we all envisage for our nation and all that. Because these are people that people don't go close to. The only way you relate with them, you pick my dustbin and then just go away. You don't even see them at times as human beings, you see them as second fiddle and all that. But they are important to our national wealth, they're important to our daily existence as human beings. So we need to include them. So I can tell you that if I'm working, as Institute for Peace and Conflict Resolution, then the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, is to tell you that the government also is working. So we must all work across board.
Inclusivity is key.
So inclusivity is key, because when you are talking of inclusion, you are talking of social inclusion, you are talking of economic inclusion, you are talking of cultural inclusion and all sorts of inclusion, to ensure that issues around marginalization, the deprivation of rights of fellow human beings is reduced to a very large extent and all that. And that is why, like I tell people, civil society, when we train them, there are critical components of what government says they want to do that you need to hold them to account and then help them to improve on. I hope you are getting the point. So if government say, okay, for example, we want food security, is one of our primary agenda. As civil society organization, how have you galvanized your energy, your resources and everything to ensure that that food security is attained, rather than using social media spaces without even facts or evidences, because most of people oftentimes don't have even the facts and evidences. They just sit in the corner of their room, imagine some certain problem, throw them out in the social media, and everybody run with it, and it's a lie.
Yeah.
And that is why different societies across the world, recently Australia is putting a regulatory framework on the use of social media, and all that. So Nigeria is one of the most freest country in the world. Freer than even the United States of America, and I can say it because a lot of these other developed countries are over-policed states. But for us here, we are so free that people do anything and they go away with it freely. So there is a need, to regulate to make sure that human conducts don't go into misconduct.
Yeah, exactly.
And if they go into
too much regulation also isn't good. So you have to strike the right balance.
Correct. Yeah, there must be.
All right, but let me get to Musa Ododo. I'm just wondering how effective government policies and initiatives have been in promoting national unity. Now, the NYSC is one that a lot of people easily talk about, but which else promotes national unity that government has set up, and where do we fall short?
Yeah, thank you so much. Just like I said, this unity we talk about is very, very vast and is very subtle. You cannot hold people to say unite. You can see since our founding father, they promoted a policy of unity in diversity. I go back to that my word again. I came to the realization that nothing in nature without a purpose. So probably we must begin to talk about what is this. We must begin to drum it. What is this national purpose? And that is why let me connect to my elder brother here, doctor. That you asked about education, and I love everything. Human nature starts from the inside, so I love to approach everything from that inner dimension. Everything that ever is starts from the inner. Everything in life that ever is start from the inner. So why don't we go inner, even in education? Because I see, just like I said, I love origin of words. Education, I see that in Latin, education is educo, to educe from the within. One time, about 10 years ago, I've been about this, but we thank God that it's coming for now. I wrote to about 10 years ago to NOA. You talk about NOA. You talk about government NOA is supposed to be, right? Yes, I wrote to NOA. I said, let's start what I call creating a new Nigeria consciousness from the cradle. They love that concept. They called me. Of course, as usual, everybody, that time, the youngest person, I remember the younger person said that time that, what I said is good, because counting us, we are no more. We cannot do this to your ticket except it starts from schedule. After some years, I got the revelation again that, no, when I did my other research, it's deeper, that, not even cradle. Starting in, I now change it now. I've wrote to this NOA DG, he has not, as I said, because he cannot do it alone. That's why I said, even from the president, you are representing, I'm telling you, without humility, sir, you're representing the government figure. Open up the dialogue space. There is no government. And I say it to our dear president, we saw the zeal that you want to change Nigeria. There is no government in the world that can do it alone. There's something we have not tapped into, which is the most durable force, or if you like, the most powerful power, and that is the power of the collective. Yeah. We must find a way to harness our collective wisdom. That is how nation. Say, I know nation building. No, all this little I'm talking and speaking English. That's the little I can do. I came to realization, just like Imam Fad said, ignorance. The only thing I was able to realize my own is that I recognize my ignorance. What is befalling us is unrecognized ignorance. It's the greatest thing that is happening to us. We don't recognize who we truly are. And that is where education starts from. So we must do that education, the dimension of education. And I call it now that creating a new Nigerian consciousness from the home or from the inside. I am an Ebira man. There's what I call. I said I discovered that we are something. There's something that we are that God sees us through. And that is why I say we are image, and we are created in the image of God. So, and that is the realm, and that just like the Quran said, verse 2, and that is the universal lens that God sees us with. When God created us and He breathed into us, that breath of life does not have coloration, does not have race, does not have anything, and that is what we must go back to. And I call it humanity is life. So, and I discovered that every child at the age of 3 to 4 months has begun to respond to sound. Yeah. And I said we can begin to create this, because a nation is a consciousness. We can begin to create this consciousness from that home, from the inside. When I now translate in my own, I'm an Hebrew man, say, well, if your wife is pregnant, when it's 4 months, tap it. Usam, my wife will say, tap it. When you come to this world, know that when you see you, I'm seeing human being. I'm seeing humanity is life, that you are me, I am you. That is where we should begin with. That is where we should begin from.
Unfortunately, time as usual is not on our side. We thank you so much. Musa Ododo Abdulrahman, founder, president, Initiative for Discovery of Nigeria Heritage and Endowment, project coordinator, National Policy Dialogue. Thank you so much for your insight into this conversation. Dr. Joseph Ochogo, DG Institute of Peace and Conflict Resolution, has always been a pleasure having you.
No, thanks a lot.
And Reverend John Joseph Hayab, Country Director, Global Peace Foundation, Nigeria, he joined us from our Kaduna studio. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
We have Imam Fuad Adeyemi, National Chief Imam Al-Habibiyya Society of Nigeria. He joined us via Zoom from Oshun. As always, it's been a pleasure having you on the program.
Thank you so much. Very grateful.
Good morning, Nigeria, for today. Thanks so much for joining us. Tomorrow, another interesting topic will be discussed. I am Juma Yeso.
And I'm Victor Azu. Thank you for watching. Do have a restful break. And once again, compliments of the season.